Hey guys, this is Zlewikk and welcome back to our Team to Talks Dev Diary series, where we are talking about what's coming in EU5, because everyone by now knows that Project Ceasar is EU5. After last week super interesting Dev Diary about sieges and supply, today we are gonna talk about something even more interesting, because about the maritime presence and in general naval gameplay in EU5. You're gonna get some more knowledge if you're gonna fix a lot of issues that Navy had in EU4. So first of all, you remember from one of the first dev diaries that there won't be autonomy in EU5, but instead we're gonna have control of the specific location and provinces, and that control will be dependent on a lot of stuff, mainly distance from your capital. So you see here that naval presence and having ports actually allows you to have a much better control of the provinces that are bordering the sea, just like you see in this case. All of this is green, while the more we go deep into lands, the worse control of the province will have. Second thing that wasn't done really in the previous games is giving a bigger importance and presence for natural historical harbors, and these specific locations would be much better to have a port and to manage your navy from. Of course, this is just a basic modifier, which if your location does not have this good modifier, it can be just fixed with enough infrastructure. So you see, this will be counted in game as a modifier called harbor suitability. And you see the harbor suitability of Bristol is at 35%, which is 25% coming from natural harbor being there, and 10% coming on top of that from wharf. I assume that over time you can unlock specific advances that also fix that, and obviously more buildings. What does harbor suitability impact? It's mostly the distance cost to capital through port, which means like the control would be much better thanks to this. Hostile disembark time modifier, a friendly disembark time modifier, as well as trade embark disembark cost, because also a big chunk of trade will be dealt through the sea. So the ports and harbor suitability of them will be very important for your trade to flow. Besides that, it will also impact a lot of costs, which you see here. How about shipbuilding? Where I think this is a very big change compared to EU4, because issue of EU4 was that one province could have two queues. One queue for building or changing a culture, and second queue for getting troops, either naval or land troops being recruited in a specific province. Where in EU5 we'll have three queues. One for the construction of buildings, one for land units, and one for naval units. So your naval provinces won't be blocked from building land troops while getting a ship built there, which is, I think, a very good change compared to EU4. And even more importantly, and this is super interesting and more historical, one location will be able to build multiple ships at once. Obviously more for the game time with more advances, and there'll be some also unique buildings like Venetian Arsenal that are increasing that capacity a lot, like +4. In EU4, Blockade obviously had an impact, but to be honest, it was kinda meh, and it wasn't showing how strong of a blockade historically was. And that's why the blockades will be a bit reworked in EU5. So you see here an example of one blockade where it decreases prosperity, it decreases control of a province, this decreases a very big chunk of maritime presence of a nation, which has a 50 different impacts with lower presence, is decreasing the food modifier, multiplier in a province, monthly development growth, so it might even decrease, and trade embark disembark costs. Also trading for the province will be much harder, and some of the traders might just reroute and not use this port anymore, which is gonna impact your trade and whole economy negatively. An example of country of Holland, the maritime presence will be increasing a bit from these three locations, while decreasing 0.43 from one blockaded port, so that blockade hurts a lot. At the same time, it's same like in EU4, not every ship will be as efficient with blockading. So you see here 17 galleys are impacting 1.7 of our blockade capacity, while Hulk It's just 0.01, so it's almost useless in the blockading, and I love this comment from Johan. This type of Hulk doesn't smash. We also see at the blockade capacity, like at what percentage we're blockading specific locations. 17 galleys and 1 Hulk is only enough to fully blockade one location, half blockade second location, and do nothing to the other 3. Not all locations are equal, and the different populations, infrastructure, and development increases how much ships are required to blockade location. Just like in EU4, more development, the harder to blockade. Population and other stuff impacts this. Okay, how about ships repairing? Well, in general, the ships will have to be in a harbor to repair, and they will be taking attrition if they will be in a season that is not adjacent to a friendly port. And that attrition is gonna be even farther if you're outside of your naval range. And here's an example: we have a naval range of Venice. So you see, it's not that bad for attrition in all of these tiles, while it gets very bad around Gibraltar and farther. Obviously, through specific advances, you're gonna be able to do more of ships repair. So, for example, with Age of Revolutions, you can repair a ship up to 50% efficiency without going back to a port. How will transporting troops work in EU5? Well, apparently each ship will be able to transport some troops, which is, I think, a good change compared to EU4, where only transport could do that unless you had special units like the Netherlands. Just the difference is different ships have different capacity of transporting troops. So transport ships obviously will be the most efficient, while trade ship will probably do very bad at that, but they will be able to transport some of the troops. And a very important note, will also have an automated transportation like in EU4, which wasn't a feature at the start when this game was released. It wasn't a feature for like 15 patches, was it? Okay, how about combat? In the naval battle there is no separate bombardment phase, as most ships have guns and they tend to want to use them constantly. Otherwise it works similar to land combat, in that you have different sections, but in the individual ships you will fire upon each other. So it's just like land fight. But when it comes to actual combat algorithm, ships work a bit differently, as there's no combat power or amount of soldiers fighting to consider, but instead ships have amount of the cannons, obviously, so cannon power, and hull size, which is obviously just defensiveness of your ship. The types of the ships will be the same as in EU4, so you have heavy ships, light ships, galleys, and transport, which is a good split in my opinion. In each category there are at least one ship in each age that can be researched, but there are also many unique ships that can be built. There is no real restriction on what roles different ships can perform, but a transport is not the best at blockading, and a light ship may not be ideal for transporting a lot of soldiers. Good change. Each type of ship differs on how many trained sailors they need for their crew, how many cannons they have, and more. You can also raise ships as levies from your population, but those are usually best suited to transport armies shorter distances and should not be relied upon in a sea battle. You see here an example of a few ships, probably from Aragon, where we have a special unit of Catalan galley that has one more cannon, one more hull. And then we've got traditional galleys, early Iberian caravel, which was used historically for colonization, like discovery of the New World, and Hulk. But yeah, this is it for the dev diary itself. Let's go now through some of the comments from Johan to see if there's any special content hiding there. First of all, Johan is saying that he never liked the flagship stuff, and apparently it's not, at least for now, planned for EU5. Honestly, I like the idea of flagships, and yeah, maybe they will reconsider, especially that many people do not agree with this. Will naval doctrines be a thing? Well, that was already one of the previous dev diaries, and this is actually a law. Does Venice have a straight crossing modifier, or would the Venetian navy be able to block armies from moving to the province somehow? How we handle Venice is not set yet, and I think it was discussed in the Italian Tinto talks that they're thinking about not making an island but it's not set yet. And yeah, this is worth noting because I said that also multiple times, because people say, oh, there's so much stuff from mute access. Well, that's because of this content. This has Mew written all over it. I've not played Mew enough, but Adam worked on it. And Giga is one of the people I love talking most in the community. So yeah, they have people that worked on Mew and access in the dev team. Will automatic transportation be adequate, unlike EU4, where it is completely dysfunctional? There's no issue with EU4 automatic transportation, you just do not know how to use it. There are toggles, and if you set it up correctly, it works pretty well. It might be problematic where you have a lot of fleets and a lot of troops across the world, but it can be handled properly. It's not dysfunctional. I think it's done pretty well, actually. You mentioned that there will be unique ships. Does that mean that some countries will have ships tied to their tackle culture, like the special level units in EU4? Si claro, aber natürlich, Szlachlat! Where is Polska Górą? A lot of questions from a friend Sealand. What are the major rivers counted as? And still wish at least those would be navigable. I can answer that in 4 to 12 weeks. When ships repair from attrition, does it repair by taking sailors or the ship resources as well to repair, or those are two separate repairs? Both. What prevents nations with many coastal provinces to add such special buildings where they can spawn more than one ship in the same location at the same time? If you can build cities in all of coast regions with shipyards, good for you, so it won't be easy. So when ship's transport capacity is measured by the amount of the men it can carry, does it mean cavalry you would count as 2 or 3? Depends. As you can see in examples, there are some unique buildings for each country, where certain locations have buildings already there at the start, such as the Venetian Arsenal, which would have been built now already. That one will be there from day one. It's not clear though, how do you increase maritime presence in the coastal provinces? More ships in a sea zone, more naval related buildings in the port, as simple as that. Was this the difference between population and development? Well, it was explained a few diaries ago, but here's too long didn't read. Population equals people living. Development equals roads and houses. Okay guys, I think this is all for today. Let me know what you think about these naval changes. I think it's going to the right direction. The basic features that worked in EU4 will be here, but there are a lot of improvements on how impactful the Navy will be. But we also need to get more knowledge how actual battles will work, because you know from EU4 the naval battles are terrible there, so I'm hoping for an improvement. So today guys, thank you so much for watching. Do remember to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed this Team to Docs, and obviously subscribe to the channel to get notified about the future content. Bye!